You're listening to Built for Nature, an exploration of how humans are designed to live through first principles, light, water, magnetism, and the deeper forces that shape human biology. I decided to start this archive with one of the most important scientific books ever written, not because it's long or complex, but because it asks the most fundamental question possible. What is life? Erwin Schrödinger first published What is Life in 1944. The book was based on a series of public lectures he delivered in February of 1943 at Trinity College in Dublin. And what makes this book so powerful is that it predates modern molecular biology. In the 1940s, DNA had yet to be fully understood. Mitochondria had not yet been deeply studied, and biophysics was far from mainstream. And yet, many of the core ideas from What is Life still shape biology today. Schrödinger wasn't a biologist. He was a physicist, which meant he looked at things differently and asked himself the question, what laws of physics must be true for life to exist at all? And that shift in perspective moved the conversation from what parts make up life to what principles allow life to stay alive. So one of Schrödinger's central ideas is that life exists far from equilibrium. In physics, systems naturally move toward disorder. This is entropy. Things break down, energy disperses, order decays. But living organisms do the opposite. They resist that drift toward disorder. They maintain structure, organization, and internal order. In other words, life is an anti-entropic process. So Schrödinger introduced a famous concept, sometimes summarized as life feeds on negative entropy, meaning to stay alive, organisms must constantly pull order from their environment. They take in structured energy and export disorder. This is incredibly aligned with modern bioenergetics, because when you zoom out, metabolism is exactly that: energy intake, order maintenance, waste export. Life is not static. It is a continuous energetic process. So why does this idea matter for modern biology? Since life is fundamentally about maintaining order, then health and disease are about order versus disorder. Not just chemicals, not just genes, but energetic organization. And that connects deeply to what I'm going to continue exploring as I study more and build this archive. Another part of this book that's worth mentioning is that Schrödinger predicted the existence of a molecular code before DNA was fully understood. He proposed that life must rely on what he called an aperiodic crystal, a structure stable enough to store information, but flexible enough to carry complexity. Years later, DNA was discovered, and it fit that description almost perfectly. This book directly influenced the scientists who discovered the structure of DNA, which shows how powerful first principles thinking can be. But here's the part most people overlook. Schrödinger emphasized that life doesn't just store information. It maintains order through energy flow, constant exchange with the environment. Living systems are not closed systems. They are open systems. They must continuously interact with their surroundings to remain alive. This idea is huge when you connect it to modern lifestyle, because it suggests something simple but profound. If life depends on structured energy exchange, then environment matters deeply. When you layer Schrödinger's ideas onto modern biology, things start clicking into place. Mitochondria, for example, are essentially order-generating engines. They convert energy from light, food, and environment into structured biological work. When mitochondrial function declines, disorder increases, inflammation rises, repair slows, regulation weakens. From a Schrödinger lens, disease starts to look like rising entropy, a loss of biological order. One of the reasons this book has aged so well is that it doesn't reduce life to chemistry. It leaves room for deeper layers: energy gradients, electromagnetic fields, physical organization, and modern research is increasingly validating that life is not purely chemical. It's electrochemical, bioenergetic, and structured. This aligns closely with themes I'm going to explore deeper: light as a regulator, water as a structured medium, mitochondria as energy translators. Schrödinger didn't prove these ideas, but he laid the philosophical groundwork for them. If you take Schrödinger seriously, it changes how you think about health. Health becomes less about avoiding bad things and more about maintaining order. Order in metabolism, order in circadian rhythm, order in cellular signaling, and that naturally leads to different questions. What increases biological order and what increases disorder? From a first principles perspective, things that support structured energy flow tend to support life. Consistent sleep and circadian rhythm, nutrient-dense food, movement, sunlight exposure, stable metabolic health, and all these help maintain organization inside the system and help the body resist entropy. On the other hand, chronic disorder emerges from circadian disruption, chronic stress, inflammation, metabolic dysfunction, and environmental mismatches. These increase biological noise and make it harder for the system to maintain structure. Over time, rising disorder manifests as disease. What is life provides a powerful reframe. Life is not a thing, it's a process, a continuous process of maintaining order against the pull of entropy. That means health is not a static state. It's an ongoing energetic achievement, something the body must constantly generate. Even though it's nearly a century old, this book still matters because it reminds us something modern biology sometimes forgets. You can't understand life purely by zooming in. Sometimes you have to zoom out. You have to look at the principles, the physics, the patterns, and when you do, life starts to look less like a collection of parts and more like a dynamic, organized flow of energy and information. So if there's one core takeaway from Schrödinger's work, it's this. Life is organized energy, and staying alive means continually maintaining that organization, which has a simple implication for how we live. The more our lifestyle supports order, the more it aligns with life itself. Whereas the more our lifestyle creates chaos, the more it pushes us toward disorder. Schrödinger reminds us that life is not random. It's structured, intentional, and lawful. And when you view biology through that lens, a lot of modern questions start to shift. Instead of asking, what supplement fixes this? You start asking, is my life creating order or disorder? And that's a much better question. As I keep working through foundational books like this, from physics to bioenergetics to mitochondrial biology, I'll keep building a clearer picture of what it really means to live in alignment with life's underlying principles. Because if we understand the nature of life itself, we get closer to understanding how to live well within it. Thanks for listening.